A lot of talk is on the Western Conference, and is there really so? But today I want to do a little Eastern Conference preview. Let's get into it. So the East has its staples, obviously Milwaukee, especially with adding Dame, the Celtics with adding Drew Holiday. Miami's always going to be in there with Bam and Jimmy. And as long as Embiid stays healthy, the 76ers are always going to be a playoff team. There's the Indiana Pacers, who with Tyrese Halliburton come off an all-star season, looks to continue to grow and to be that franchise lead guard. And they also brought in Bruce Brown, someone that a lot of people fell in love with during the Nuggets finals run, someone that's going to do the dirty work, hit the open shot, and just take on the other team's best offensive threat. And he really fits in with this young Pacers team with Miles Turner down low. There's obviously talks of Buddy Hield getting traded, but if Buddy Hield is traded, you can still get something productive back for him. Or you just work something out. He stays on the team, and you have a lethal shooter on the wing for the Indiana Pacers. Another team that I'm high on is the Orlando Magic. With their two stars in Paulo Banchero, last year's first overall pick, and Franz Wagner, Paulo was everything the Magic could have hoped for, and Franz just continues to grow and to be a elite ball handler. They also have Wendell Carter down low, and a very solid point guard rotation in Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, and Cole Anthony. Long term, you have to think they have to eventually move one of those guys. That could possibly be at this year's deadline to add more veteran leadership. But I think the Orlando Magic are set for in a kind of lower tiered Eastern Conference to kind of sneak in with one of those final three playoff spots. Paulo looks to be the guy that can lead a franchise, and Franz Wagner looks to be a very high end too, with times can kind of look like a one. Kind of think of a Chris Middleton in the Milwaukee Bucks year when they went to and won the NBA Finals. Another team I think you could put in the kind of locked category, but I kind of want to touch on a little bit, were the Cleveland Cavaliers. They traded for Donovan Mitchell last year, and they get into the postseason and kind of fuzzled out in the first round against the New York Knicks. But I think that was just an awkward fit and trying to figure out how to play with each other. You had Darius Garland, who is an on-ball point guard, kind of reminds me a lot of Steve Nash, which is why I love watching Darius Garland. He's one of my favorite young guards in the league. And I think Evan Mobley was trying to figure out how to play more off-ball and kind of more on the outside of the paint with Donovan Mitchell coming in. And then you obviously have Jared Allen. They bring in Max Strus to give them shooting, which they severely lacked last year and kind of was their Achilles heel. But I think the Cavs are in a nice spot going forward. Obviously, there's going to continue to be rumors of Donovan Mitchell wanting to go home and play for his New York Knicks, fan that he was growing up. But I think the Cavs are in a good spot. If they make another playoff appearance and they make a playoff push, either just win the first round, or even if they kind of push and have a deep playoff run to the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Donovan Mitchell is a New York Knick. I think there's a very good chance that Mitchell and Garland really figure it out this year and play with each other and really become one of the top dynamic duos that we talk about in the NBA and just top backcourts that we talk about in the NBA. The Cleveland Cavaliers are in a really good spot. Either it goes sideways and you can trade Mitchell at the deadline, or it's really good, the Max Strus signing, even though a lot of people kind of looked at it as a little bit of an overpay. Max Strus provides that three-point shooting that you really need. Evan Mobley continues to grow into that defensive stud and continues to grow his offensive game. And Jared Allen just continues to be a top elite level rim protector. And the Cavs really got something cooking that they really haven't had since LeBron was there. A team that's kind of in NBA purgatory is the Chicago Bulls. DeMar, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic on paper as a trio should be enough to get you into the playoffs every year. But they battled some injuries last year, and shots that fell for DeMar 2 seasons ago in his first year in Chicago just weren't falling last year. But I think that is an underrated storyline coming into the season is the big step that Coby White took for the Chicago Bulls last year. He continues to grow as a spot-up shooter and really took a leap as a catch-and-shoot shooter last year. But his biggest leap for anyone that has watched any Chicago Bulls basketball during his NBA tenure was the defensive side of things. No, Coby White is not a great defender, but he's not going to get killed and beat like he has his first couple seasons in the NBA. He took a big step forward last year, and he also took a step forward as a playmaker. Another underrated thing for the Bulls is Patrick Williams. A lot of people declared him a bust early on before he grew. And we got to remember, not everyone is going to be a LeBron, a Michael Jordan, a Kobe, those guys that come in, Apollo Banchero last year. Guys that come in and just quickly look like they're the part. It takes time for some of these guys. And Coby White, it took a little bit, but he finally looks to be that guy that the Bulls thought that they were getting when they took him in the top 10 a couple seasons ago. They brought in some guys they brought in a Javon Carter and Torrey Craig, two guys that are hustlers, defenders. Javon Carter's going to hit the pull-up three. Torrey Craig's going to make the hustle play. He's not going to give you much on the offensive end. He'll knock down some wide open shots if they're there. But Torrey Craig is more of an energy guy that they can provide off of the bench. If you're the Bulls, DeMar has already talked about it, that it's too early to blow up this big three and him, LaVine, and Vucevic. But if things start to go sideways again, you have to wonder if Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and even Vucevic, who just re-signed, will be on the trade block. I think the Bulls will be in a play-in, late playoff to the very end. They just got to stay healthy. Zach LaVine's already rumored to have to miss opening night because of his knee injury. But if he can get healthy and then stay healthy, Zach LaVine just continues to be one of their more underappreciated and underrated players. He gets a lot of unnecessary hate because he's played on a lot of bad Bulls teams. But shot for shot, one-on-one, there's very few better than Zach LaVine in the NBA. Another team I wanted to touch on was the Knicks. The Knicks should be a playoff lock. I just don't think they are because I don't trust a Tom Thibodeau-led team in 2024. Jalen Brunson proved to be a good signing. A lot of people questioned the money that he got because he hadn't been an all-star yet in Dallas, but it quickly proved that was the right deal. Julius Randle is one of the more underappreciated players in the Eastern Conference. He just continues to grow and get better every season. R.J. Barrett hasn't been what the Knicks thought he would be when they drafted him out of Duke, but he's still a very solid player. No, he's not the franchise player, but he's a solid guy that any team would be lucky to have. And another guy that kind of came on last year was Quentin Grimes off the bench. Just came onto the court, and when he was on the court, if he took that open corner three, you knew it was going in every time. The problem with Tom Thibodeau is we know he's going to play his guys 40 minutes a night on Tuesday nights in Oklahoma City, and that's just going to wear down throughout the season. No, people respect that they're going to try hard every night, but in the NBA, in an 82-game-long season, that's just not something that's very smart. While, yes, the Knicks don't have the most talented roster in the NBA, they do have a talented enough roster in this Eastern Conference to make some noise in the playoffs. I just have reservations on a Tom Thibodeau-led team because of the way that he coaches and the way that he just is and playing his guys 40 minutes a night. Could we eventually see him kind of peel back? He hasn't proven that he's willing to do that yet. But could he surprise us this year? Sure. I just don't see that happening. But I think Jalen Brunson is too good of a leader on and off the court to not let the Knicks at least be in it till the very end. The last thing we wanted to touch on was the Brooklyn Nets. Mikal Bridges, after the trade, really flourished as the one, but they were under 500 after the trade deadline, getting Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Mikal and Cam Johnson. And Mikal and Cam their games really developed and really took that next step after the trade. It's just a team's number one option being Mikal Bridges. I don't know if that is the most successful in terms of team success, but Mikal proved that he could put up the numbers knowing that he was going to be the other team's number one target when the Nets were on offense. Cam Johnson continued to grow his off-the-dribble game, but do the Nets a playoff lock? I would say no. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the play-in and got in that way. I also wouldn't be surprised if they just missed the playoffs completely. I am curious to see what a full season with them looks like. Ben Simmons can stay healthy. That's obviously an all-star, a former all-star, I should say. And just surrounded by shooters, that's really what Ben has needed. I'm curious to see this Nets team together for a full season and just see what they look like. But like I said, I would not be surprised if they missed the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made the play-in. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments, what team do you think could shock people in the Eastern Conference this year?